Good morning. Hey, this is your host, Jeff Ski Kinsey, and this is the Fast Charge Energy podcast, the audio version. That's also our website, fastchargeenergy.com. Check it out. Hey, the question of the day, this is a jab, by the way. I'm giving some information away. How many times do you have to hear something before you acknowledge that it's worthy of further investigation? That's the question. They say in advertising that sometimes a message might need, a few years ago, 10 years ago, we used to say 10 to 15 exposures were necessary in an advertising environment for you to say, hey, geez, what was that thing that they were talking about? I've heard Shama Hyder say as many as, I think, 27 times today in the recent past. But there are very few absolutes in life, okay? we love absolutes, but it doesn't work that way. Zig Ziglar used to use an example. He goes, if you put one foot in a bucket of ice and the other foot in a fire, on the average, you are not going to be comfortable, okay? So absolutes, they're just not that common. Does that make some sense? And of course, by the way, you should be asking yourself, Ski, where are you going with this? What's this got to do with fast EV charging? Aha. I'm glad you asked that question. Well, let me make it very clear. My watch word for this year, the year 2023, has been disruption. Okay? So what's that mean? We are attempting to disrupt the world. Okay, and by world, I mean, in particular, the 47 continental United States where we do business. Okay, we're trying to fundamentally disrupt that and say, guess what? Here's a fact. There's going to be more EVs, electric vehicles, sold tomorrow than there were yesterday. That is a fact. If you want to stick your head in the sand, go for it. But it's not gonna change the fact that tomorrow more EVs are going to be sold in the U.S. of A. than were sold yesterday. Now, of course, your mileage is going to vary in a sense. It depends on whether it's a Saturday or Sunday. I hope a lot of places are closed on Sunday. But some of you have heard the tale I've told about doing a test drive of a Tesla Model Y on a Sunday when the dealership was closed. Okay? You don't have to have a dealership to... I'm getting off topic. So let me bring this back. I think life runs in three circles, if you will. I'm a huge fan of the Venn diagram. First time I saw one, and I forget the topic now, but the point was, I saw this Venn diagram, and as I recall, it was one with three circles. There could be more, there could be less. But it's like a weight was lifted. It's like, aha. Vast amounts of information can be conveyed almost in an instant with a Venn diagram. So think of a Venn diagram, three circles, okay? And in the middle, in the core, where those three overlap to some extent, greater or lesser, not the point. A good Venn, V-E-N-N diagram, three overlap, and that's the core, the caramel nougat, if you will, of insight. Okay? Is that making some sense? So, what are the three concepts I'm talking about? Actually, let me reframe this. In the last 12 hours, okay, I got hit over the head, figuratively, fortunately. I listened for 2 straight years. Think about this. For 2 straight years, I listened to everything Gary Vaynerchuk said or did that I could find. Okay. Every time he had a podcast or some post on social media somewhere for 2 whole years. And guess what? I realized that he started to repeat himself. Now, he had been repeating himself, like we all do, forever. But it took me 2 years, and there was little nuances. And so the bottom line is, I came away one of his biggest fans. Originally, I didn't want anything to do with him. His foul mouth used to be more foul, and I had trouble with that, okay? And as a Marine Corps veteran, I mean, I can cuss with the best of them. But I didn't think it was appropriate every time he used an inappropriate word. But anyhow, so last night, I'm flipping through Instagram, and I don't spend much time on Instagram anymore. I mean, I'm up to my neck in stuff I got to get done. But I'm flipping through there. I'm trying a little bit of downtime, trying to regenerate my personal batteries, my internal clock. And so I'm flipping through Instagram, and Gary Vaynerchuk says something I've heard him say more than 100 times. Maybe even, it would not be unrealistic to think I've heard Gary preach this 1,000 times. Maybe not, but at least 100, okay? And he said, look, you've got to share your content. In this particular short, he was saying 7 to 15 times a day. He said, set a mission, and these are my words, me paraphrasing, set a mission that every day, day in and day out, you have to post at least 15 times. But it never stuck. I've attempted it many times, and I'm going to do so again today. But it finally hit home. So that's Venn diagram circle number 1. Gary Vaynerchuk says, post 15 times a day. And of course, hidden in that simple statement is it's got to be relevant. It's got to be a whole bunch of things. And it's necessary, but it's not sufficient. Okay? By the way, if you didn't know, this one's going to go a little long. So, a few moments ago, I see a post where Shama Hyder comments. And I've been following Shama. We met over the internet more than 10 years ago. I think it was maybe 2009, 2010, maybe 2008. Don't quote me on that. But she commented on a post, and she said these 3 magic words. She said, repetition is revenue. Okay, the third circle is I had a business colleague send me a video this morning. Yeah, some of us are up and actually getting work done before the sun comes up. So this third circle of this Venn diagram I'm painting for you this morning, it was a video about a guy attacking the 10,000 hour rule. I like to call it a rule. Okay, now nowhere did, and I learned it from Malcolm Gladwell, author of The Tipping Point and a whole bunch of other books. Okay, I learned it as a rule. Now, nowhere have I ever recalled Malcolm Gladwell saying that it is sufficient. He never said 10,000 hours of X makes everyone an expert. That's not what he said. He said, in my world, he said, look, 10,000 hours are necessary. And that's a rough estimate. I mean, it might be 8,000, might be 12,000, okay? But he's saying that repetition matters. And as Zig Ziglar says, it's doing the right things over and over again to make those 10,000 hours valuable. So this guy did this video trying, in my sense, trying to disprove the 10,000 hour rule. Well, you can't disprove it, okay? It's a fact. It's like gravity, okay? If you practice something and you practice it well and all the things that common sense say, doing the right thing, working on the right goal or mission or vision, then you have the ability, you have an environment where you might be able to knock it out of the park. And that's where they all come together. And it's not just one vantage point. Never, ever, ever take the word of one witness. Okay? Here's the problem with so much in the world today, especially in politics. Okay? One person's opinion does not make sense. Okay? You've got to test it. Somebody said in the Bible, what we Christians use, they say, look, we've got 66 different vantage points. They said there's 66 books. Thank you. There's 66 books in the Bible, and they all give us a different perspective, a different vantage point. So give your head a shake and realize that there's nuances, but it does not negate the 10,000 hour rule. Okay? I've spent more than 10,000 hours in the study and appreciation of electrical vehicles and electrical vehicle charging, but it's not sufficient. Yes, I believe I'm an expert, and I believe the work we're doing at fastchargeenergy.com is profound. It's going to disrupt the world as you know it, okay? We're going to throw fuel on that fire, and if we can help advance your efforts, reach out. I have some insight I'm willing to share.